Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
Great Scott! There's no crying in baseball!
You better hold on tight, Spider Monkey.
This is where the fun begins.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. That's right, we're ranking Heretic. Heretic is a 2024 American psychological horror film. Heretic follows two Mormon missionaries who are lured into a manipulative religious debate and terrifying psychological trap by a sinister recluse who tests their faith to the breaking point. Totally another surprising movie for me this year. That is the great thing about running this channel that has come out of this year, is I've watched a ton of movies that I would have never watched, but I really had a good time, and this is one of them. Let's talk about it with the 10 essential aspects of a movie. First is plot. Does the movie follow a comprehensive story arc and is plausible within the world that has been created? Now I'm going to get this out because I often forget to talk about the end of movies, but I will say that the story of this movie I found very interesting. I thought the story arc was really well told and was one of those thriller suspenses that you really don't know what's going to happen next, but you are just on the edge of the seat waiting to see what happens. But I will say the ending of this movie I think is somewhat poorly executed and very rushed. I did not enjoy that. But the story itself was interesting for the first 90% of the movie. The rewatchability is something that is a struggle here. A lot of those movies that they are really relying on you not knowing what's going to happen next makes a really good first watch, but those second, third, fourth watches, they're not as good because it's not as suspenseful. The thrilling aspect is not quite there because you already know what is going to happen. But I will say the first time watching this was very good. Second is attraction. Does the movie have an interesting premise with a high entertainment value? I would say yes. If you won't avoid religious topics at all, then no, you're not really going to like it. But that not to say a religious topic as in you have to be religious to like it. I actually think that the movie is really about religion, but it takes no side. And I think that's very interesting. All the conversations in this movie are very well done. I think it has a very interesting premise that I have not quite seen before. It does not mean it has not been done, but I have not seen it, and I thought it was executed very well. Third is theme. What message or truth is the movie trying to convey? Now, this is a huge part of the movie. It really drives the movie and is the motive of what is going on in this entire movie. And that is the danger of control and manipulation in the world of religion. And it really challenges you to think about what you believe and why you believe it. Now, I think it was done really well. I thought it was done with class. I did not think that this movie was trying to push you to not be religious, and it wasn't pushing you to be religious. It really was just bringing up the simple conversation of religion and how it has been represented and the facts about it. These are questions that you have to answer in your own life in order to determine where you stand. And I don't think that it necessarily pushes you one way or another, and I love that about the movie. But if you are religious, you have to come to terms with the fact that it's very easy to see religion as something that can be controlled to manipulate people, because it's been done before a million times. Unfortunately, it is just a product of religion's existence, and if you want to ignore that, then I think you're just kind of ignoring facts. I think you're ignoring the obvious, which is never that healthy. I think it's a great conversation to have and a very interesting theme. Fourth is dialogue. Is there a real feel to the conversations? I think absolutely. Now, it's kind of hard to determine whether it's a real feel because they're in a situation that I don't understand. I don't know about. I've never been in a tense situation like that. But the dialogue was very interesting. It really had my attention, and it is one of the main parts that drive this movie. If you don't like the dialogue, then you're not going to like the movie. But I thought it was really well done. I thought they conveyed a lot of ideas in a very simple manner that was easy to understand, but had some intriguing questions at the end. It made you think about your own belief. Why do you believe what you believe? Do you agree with this guy? Do you agree with the Mormons and their perspective? I just thought it was very interesting and really well done, and really helped to drive the movie. Fifth is acting. Are the characters convincing? Now, Hugh Grant, who plays one of the three main characters, or you could argue the main character of this movie, does a fantastic job, and along with the dialogue, his acting is what just elevates this movie to the next level. I mean, it is a really good movie, and it really captures your attention, and that is because of the dialogue, but that is also because of his acting. I thought he did a really good job. The other two characters did a good job as well, but I felt he really captured your attention in this movie. He had you believing he was who he was portraying to be, and you were very interested in what he was going to say next, and you were trying to understand him as a character and where he was going with what he was saying. I thought he killed it with this role. I just really enjoyed it. 6 is cinematography. Is there a creative use of lighting, setting, and wardrobe to convey emotion? I thought that they really put good effort into the setting. I think the house in which this portrays is kind of a character in and of itself somewhat, and you really try to get a layout in your head of this house. I just thought the setting was very interesting and really well done. There is one shot in this movie where he kind of has this wooden model of his own house, and you see one of the main characters running through this model, and then she goes through a door, and all of a sudden she is actually, you see her come into the room in which the model is. I just thought that was an awesome shot. Unfortunately, it's only one. It's like the only creative shot in this movie. I mean, there's some very normal shots that you see in a movie. That one was unique, and when I saw it, I was like, whoa, that was really cool. Unfortunately, it's the only one in the movie, but I thought it was very interesting. Now, emotion-wise, it's tense. It has you on the edge of your seat. Now, that will probably go away if you watched it 2, 3, 4 times. So the emotional side is not really there, other than just making you think about what is being said, and I think that will always be there as you watch that movie. 7th is editing. This is all about the pace of the movie. The movie is an hour and 51 minutes long. I didn't really notice how long it is. It's fairly long as a movie, but the dialogue is interesting enough. You want to know what's going to happen next. The acting is good enough that you don't really have a concept of time. You really forget about how long the movie really is. So I think an hour and 51 minutes was a good length. If they went about 10 to 15 minutes longer, I think I would have felt it. It just depends. I think they did a good job of transitioning from one scene to another to really make you forget how long the movie really is. 8th is soundtrack. I don't really remember much about the soundtrack. It just wasn't really that interesting. 9th is directing. Now, I feel the director is in charge of the previous 8 aspects. They're the ones that have to give it their stamp of approval, put it all together, and make a really good movie. Now, the directors in this movie are Scott Beck and Brian Woods, and they have directed 5 movies total together. And those 5 movies are The Bride Who Wore Blood, Nightlight, Haunt, 65, and finally Heretic. Now, the only movie I've watched out of those was 65, a concept I was interested in but felt was kind of lackluster. They've really redeemed themselves with this movie for me. I thought this movie was really well done. I think they have a creative aspect to them that I wish they would explore more. They have credits in writing, directing, and producing all kinds of films. I think they're very creative. I think they know what they're doing when it comes to making an interesting story. I just wish they would be a little more daring in their directing. Like the one shot of the house, I just think it was really an interesting shot. I wish there was a lot more of those in the movie because it would set it apart from a lot of other movies, especially in a genre like thriller or horror where there's a lot of the same. There's a lot of the same shots in this movie, but there's that one scene I remember, and I wish they would do a little bit more of that. But I think they're really good directors. I think they're very creative, and I think they have some real good potential movies coming out later. 10th is time. Will it stand the test of time? I don't necessarily think it will stand the test of time. It'll be a conversation that will always be there, just like it always has been without this movie. The concept of religion and talking about it, whether you believe it or not believe it, and the certain aspects of it. I think this movie does a good job of talking about it in a very classy way, a very interesting way. I really enjoyed it. I think it will always be an interesting watch. However, it won't be as much of a thriller. It won't be, the dialogue is what will be interesting, but the actual story taking place, I feel, will lose its luster as time goes on, because that's just kind of what happens with thrillers and mysteries. Once you know what the end is, that's kind of ruins it for the rest of the times that you watch the movie. So I do think it will somewhat stand the test of time as an interesting concept, but not as good of a movie as it was the first time I watched it. Now for the review section. Rotten Tomatoes critics gives it a 93. The audience gave it a 77. And IMDb gives it a 73. Personally, I think 77 and 73 is just a little low. I don't know if that's necessarily because of the topic. Maybe people just didn't enjoy the topic. Maybe some people were offended by the topic. But I just think they're too low. I think the movie's really good. I think it handles the topic really well. There's some great acting. There's some interesting, there's an interesting story arc. There's a mystery to it that's very well done. It's just better than a C movie. 93, I feel, is that's too high. It is not that good of a movie. It doesn't have the rewatchability to really put it up that high. It doesn't even necessarily have the emotion to put it up that high. I would probably put it in that mid B range to low B range. I just think that's where it belongs. You have to save those upper tier movies for the ones that are really easy to rewatch and really pull you in emotionally. I think that's where those movies belong, and this movie doesn't quite hit that, but it does hit a lot of things really well. Finally, for the rankings. For the year of 2024, out of 23 total movies on the entertainment side, I have it 11th, just below Civil War and above Smile 2. Now, it is in that section. It is at the very bottom of movies I would choose to watch again. I would choose to watch this movie again on my own, and that is because the acting is great, but really it's because I just enjoyed the subject matter. I thought the conversation of religion was very interesting. Thought the points brought up by both parties in this movie were interesting. I would watch it again just to have those thoughts again. Think about what I believe and why I believe it. I just enjoyed it. However, entertainment-wise, it will lose its luster as it goes on because of that mystery part. So that is why it's at the bottom, below Civil War. Civil War had that somewhat of an emotional aspect. It is a concept I enjoyed watching. I would watch that movie again. I just think it's a little more interesting. I think it's a good watch, but Heretic, it doesn't have that mystery thriller aspect that Heretic has, so I do think it would be something I would choose to watch before Heretic. I have it above Smile 2. I actually think Smile 2 is a better movie in a lot of ways. Well, I say a lot of ways, in a couple ways. But I would never choose to watch that movie on my own again. That's kind of what comes with horror movies for me, unless it's just not actually a scary horror movie. But, when a horror movie is successful and it's scary, I don't want to watch it again on my own. So honestly, Smile 2 being there is kind of, an award to itself. Now, cinematically, out of 23 total movies, it is 7th, just below Trap and above Conclave. These three movies, very, very similar. All kind of have that mystery thriller aspect going on. I believe all of them have good acting. I think Trap and Heretic have better acting than Conclave. They have standout acting. That's why I have it above Conclave, because it does have that standout. Hugh Grant really stands out in this movie. Conclave, there really wasn't any acting that stood out. It's just a good story. I think all three of these are good stories. I put Trap above Heretic just because I feel the actual tenseness, the thriller aspect of Trap will still somewhat be there, where I just don't think it will be for Heretic. Once you know the end of Heretic, it won't be tense anymore. I think Trap is set up in a way that some of the scenes will still be tense just because the character is good and the settings are really well done. And the story just is cohesive to being somewhat of a thriller still. And that's why I have it above Heretic. Now for the decade of the 2020s, out of 25 total movies on the entertainment side, I have it 12th, just below Civil War and above Smile 2. It's there for the exact same reasons as it was in 2024. Now, on the cinematic aspect, it is going to be 7th, just below Trap and above Conclave. Again, it's there for the exact same reasons it was in 2024. Now, for all time, out of 35 total movies on the entertainment side, I have it 20th. Again, just below Civil War and above Smile 2. It's there for the same reasons it was before. Just gotta get a little bit more variety in this list. Now, cinematically, I have, out of 35 total movies, I have it 11th, just below The Mist and above Conclave. I have it below The Mist, kind of for the same reasons I have Conclave below The Mist. I just think The Mist was bringing a lot more to the table for cinema as an art form. I think Heretic is an interesting conversation, but as a movie, it's going to lose its luster as it goes on. It's not going to be as thrilling. It's not going to be as interesting to watch unless you just enjoy the conversation being had. The Mist always brings an emotional side to me. That you always form these opinions about those characters. I think there's some really good character development there. I just knock it down because unfortunately for its time, it doesn't look that great. But the concept was interesting. The character development was really interesting. I just think those things are easier on the rewatch and represent cinema more as an art form than Heretic does. Now, that's all I've got for Heretic. Let me know if you've watched it. If you haven't watched it, religious or not, I think it's a great movie to watch. I think it's a very interesting conversation to have. Makes you think about what you believe and why you believe it. And I think that's a very interesting message that you should watch. If you want to watch somebody who does a pretty much the same format as me with the 10 essential aspects and ranking a movie against the same year, decade, and all time, but has a different list of movies, has a very different opinion, then go check out my friend Bosso movie reviews. Again, he does everything the same as me, but he has a very different opinion, and you might turn out to like his opinion much more than mine. I tend to say he's a little less serious than I am. I think he takes things at an entertainment value a little more. I think he enjoys the entertainment value of movies a little bit more than I do, where I really enjoy the cinematic aspects of movies. Make sure to comment what movie you want me to review next. If you want that review expedited, there is going to be a link in my description to a PayPal account where you can donate any amount of money at all, and I will move it up the list. I will be making an introduction video to the channel to help explain the rules of that, but I'm just doing it so that I can expand on this channel, hopefully do more, make more content, maybe make different content, but you do not have to donate at all. Just comment the movie and I will get to it eventually, and make sure you subscribe so that you watch that video of the movie that you wanted me to review. Now, I'm Mr. Majoritarian. Stay classy, San Diego.